Hi everybody, Ryan from the Headwaters Science Center. We're just getting ready to get started with the snake feeding here. Angie is currently in the back getting the mice and rats ready for the feeding. And so I think for a few minutes here we're just going to kind of look around a little bit, visit with some of the other animals until Angie's ready to go. But you can see, here, Rusty is getting ready. He's sitting on his newspapers there, getting ready to be fed. Let's see what else we got. I think I'll spin our camera around here. There we go. This is Pog, the bearded dragon. You can see he's sitting in his basking light there. He's all spread out. See, he's got his head up, his tail out, his rib cage is all flattened, absorbing all kinds of good light from his lights he's got there. One for heat, one for UVB. So they need special lights that help them, mostly helps him with digestion. So that's what that white light is a UVB one. When he's in there absorbing all his good light. Next door we have the box turtle here, who's probably snoozing right now. She's mostly nocturnal. And for those of you just joining us, Angie's currently in the back getting the rats ready. So we're going to start the feeding in just a couple minutes here, so I'm just giving you a quick walk around, visiting with the other critters. This is Hypatia. She's our blue-tongued skink. She's actually one of our oldest animals here. We've had her for over 20 years. And again, she's sitting under her light, just basking right now. All these reptiles are cold-blooded, so that means they don't make their own body heat. So they have to sit under lights, and most of them will have a pad underneath too. You can see this cord coming in. So that's a heating pad there. And I've got a live chat here, so if you have any questions or comments that you want to ask while we're doing the stream here, feel free to type them in there, and I'll make sure I can get Angie to answer them for you. What we're looking at now is the walking sticks. And the walking sticks, we're kind of in the middle of a little bit of a generation transition here. We've got a lot of little young ones and a lot of teenagers. We only have maybe one or two full-grown ones in there right now. Here, maybe we can even open this door up and get a closer look at a couple of them. Oh, and here's kind of a cool thing. If you look at this one here, so this one's kind of a youngish one, but you can see this kind of, I'll come back, turning away from me. This little thing stuck to the end of his leg here is a shed skin. So that walking stick is shedding his skin, which means he's growing, which they do pretty quick when they're this young. So there's a lot of them probably shedding skins in there right now. He's trying to get around to the other side of the door. Can't let him do that. Come here, buddy. Put him back in there. Make sure we're not pinching anybody's legs when we close the door again. There we go. Cockroaches living next door. You can see actually right on the side here we got some baby cockroaches. Their lettuce that they're enjoying in there. Got a whole lot of babies over here in the corner. They really love this corner for whatever reason. Haven't really figured out why, but the babies like to collect in that one corner of the tank. Got some fish over here, and so this is a native fish tank. Everybody that you're seeing in here is stuff that we netted. Actually, our science club netted all these. So there's some little guys in here. A couple bass, a couple bluegills. I think there's a crayfish in there that usually is hanging out inside this stump thing. Never really get a good look at him. Kind of a shy one, that crayfish. But once those guys get big, they move over to this tank. So you can see we got some bigger bass in here. That's what this guy is here, is a largemouth bass. And then we have the perch sitting in here too. There's Angie on the other side of the tank. And then we see what Angel's up to. So we moved, since last time we did the feeding, we moved Angel and Popey over closer to the front of the building just so they're getting a little more light of the big front doors. This is Angel the parrot. And an angel is a very social, very friendly bird. Loves getting pet. Doesn't always love getting picked up, but really likes getting pet. Just can scratch her right on the back of the neck there, and she really likes that. Yeah. Said once you get started with her, she always wants more, so I don't want to give her too much right now because she'll be wanting more. Popey's next door. Popey's our cockatiel. He's a little less friendly than Angel. He's kind of a grump, actually. You can see he's working on his seeds there. And then next door to them, we have the two finches. So these are our newest birds here. And you can see the male sitting on the branch down there, and the female is up on the side of the planter. And they've got their nest over in the corner here that they built together. As far as I know, there's not any eggs in there yet, but it can be kind of tough to see in there. It's kind of at a tough angle to look into. The wolf mount. And it looks like Angie's ready to go. So we'll head over here with her.
Alright, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Angie. We are here at the Headwaters Science Center in beautiful Bemidji, Minnesota. And it is Saturday, so we are going to feed some snakes. Now, full disclosure, I have not fed snakes for a very long time. So there's like a 60% chance I'm going to squeal like a frightened puppy if a snake kind of like strikes. So prepare.
It's good content.
So I think we should start, let's go from little to big. So we'll start with Sal today. So Sal is one of our smaller snakes. He's a hognose. And you can kind of see they get their name from that shovel-shaped nose there. And we are going to give him a small mouse. I do remember that this snake has relatively bad aim, and he always likes to aim high. So
and if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll pass them on to Angie.
There we go. Like I said, bad aim. There you go. She's chewing on a Tootsie.
Yep. And they're nice and close.
And you can see that her food is, his food, is much, much larger than what looks like he should be able to eat. And snakes are really, really interesting in that they really don't chew their food. They swallow it whole. And so they have very unique jaws that they can sort of dislocate, unhinge a bit. And you can kind of see him now kind of almost deforming his mouth. And so he'll be able to choke that down and then sort of adjust his jaw back the way it should be. Normally a snake would eat its prey head first, just because it's easier going down. But sometimes I think these captive snakes just are so used to having everything really easy, they just kind of don't care. So we'll let him work on that, and then let's move over here to Miss Sophie. Sophie is our corn snake. And she's also going to get a smaller mouse. You can see she's pretty into it. She's excited. Flicking that tongue all over. She's not being rude. Snakes use their tongues to smell. So she is trying to locate there.
Ooh,
nice.
That was a good one. I
didn't squeal. I'm proud of myself. And again, we can kind of watch her maneuver that prey. You can see this one, she's actually trying to get the head pointed down her gullet in the most efficient way. So here she's going to try to adjust it. Get that right angle.
Constriction.
Ah, yeah. So naturally, this animal would only hunt living prey. So they're not interested in carrion or, roadkill, anything like that. They want to hunt and eat living food. And so what they would do is, this particular kind of snake is called a constrictor. And what that means is Their teeth are really only good for grabbing on to their prey. And so what they will do is they'll use their mouth and their little rear-facing teeth to grab their prey, and then once they have it firmly in their mouth, they twist their body around and give it a real good squeeze, basically until their heart stops pumping. And then once they know for sure that the animal is no longer alive, that's when they kind of fiddle around and get it so it'll go down nice and easy. So these guys, we actually heat up our food to make it appear to be still alive. If we tried to give them cold food, they would not even attempt. They would not be interested at all. So we thaw them out, soak them in warm water, and then we give them. There we go.
There's a good bite.
You can really see that jaw moving. So we make a conscious decision to feed pre-killed rodents to our snakes. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, the prey never wants to get eaten, and so it is totally possible where the mouse or the rat, the food, will fight back and injure the snake. And the other reason we don't do it is if you put a live mouse in a snake cage, that mouse really has no chance. And so it's kind of unfair, and it's really just not very nice. And so these animals that we are feeding to the snakes right now are actually raised specifically for food, and they're humanely euthanized, and then they're frozen and they're shipped to us. So we also don't have to raise rats, which is nice. So, all right, enough yammering. We'll go on to, I didn't do enough. We'll do Jeannie last, because I've been so long, I didn't count correctly. So Jeannie will have to get fed a little later, which is fine. She's a really picky eater, and she doesn't like to eat when anyone's watching.
She ate last week, too.
Oh, she also ate last week? Yeah. All right, this is Rusty, and we can see that Rusty is very interested. So I'm going to pull it over here. Over here, buddy. There we go. I'm so proud of myself. That's 2. So there you can see he struck, and he has constricted a little bit. So a wild snake would be able to feel the prey's heartbeat, blood pressure, all that stuff, and they would just squeeze until they felt confident that the animal is dead. Since ours are not alive, but they're warm, he's not going to constrict very long or very hard. So he'll probably sit there for a minute, and then once his brain says, yeah, that's a dead animal, then he'll maneuver it just like Sal and Sophie did. And this is a nice big snake. It's really fun to watch him eat. Right now we can go over to Artemis, who is one of our newest, one of our largest snakes. She is the same species as Rusty, that guy we just said over there. But because she's a female, she is so much bigger. And she is huge and wonderful. She can look a little intimidating, but don't tell any of the other snakes, but I think she might be my fave. She's just a big old teddy bear. Now, do you, move her so her head is out before you feed her, or do you just...
No, I usually, when she's all coiled up like this, I'll just kind of bump it in the center of her just to let her know it's there and let her kind of follow up with it on her own time. So she might lash out at it. It's happened.
Ding, ding. Her head's over here. Here she is. Here she's coming.
So she's all curled up under her heat lamp right now, too. She's also got some pads under there. There's a good strike.
I didn't scream.
She wanted to, though.
Yeah. You can see her teeth. Oh, I don't know. You might not be able to see it on the TV or the phone.
Yeah, she's got a good grip on that one. Hi to Katie, Grady, Ellie, and Hazel. Thanks for coming back.
We miss you.
If you have any questions, he said Angie's the one answering them today, so maybe a little bit different perspective, even if it's the same question as last week, or 2 weeks ago.
It doesn't have to be about snakes. At this point, I will answer any questions about anything because nobody's asking me questions at home, and I usually answer questions 40 hours a week. So I'm begging. I'm going to sit on the corner and just say, I'll explain things to you. Okay, so these are our legless lizards. So they have a body plan that really looks like a snake, but there's a couple things they have that make them a lizard and not a snake. So obviously they don't have legs. But if we look really close at their face, which I don't know if we can while we're doing this part, but they have ear holes and they have eyelids. And those are two things that snakes never ever have. Hey, look at her.
Just checking out that phone there.
Our newest star. So, let's see if these guys are interested. There you go. So that's our younger legless lizard. And this lady, she's been working at the Science Center longer than I have.
Yeah, I think this one's got a longer tenure here than everybody but Chuck.
So you'll also notice that as these critters eat, rather than swallowing the stuff whole, even though they could probably fit that down their gullet, these guys chew their food, which is something that you'll probably never catch a snake doing. They're not chewing, they're probably like hiking it in. They kind of like walk their food in.
So we have a question. Sorry. I have a question. What kind of snake is the yellow one? Which I assume he means Artemis.
This one over here, the big one?
Yeah.
This is a red-tailed boa constrictor, sometimes called a common red tail or even a Colombian red tail. They are really common pets. They're not a great starter pet, but they are really popular for people who enjoy snakes. They're relatively calm. As you can see, they get sort of big, and as far as their attitude goes, they're pretty laid back. If you're going to have a big snake, you want a friendly snake.
And then what are we feeding to the legless lizards?
Ah, yes, the legless lizards got what we call a pinky. And a pinky is a brand new born mouse that doesn't have any hair yet. And so they go in sizes. You've got pinkies, which are the smallest that we fed these guys. The next size up is fuzzy, which is a little bit bigger, and they just have like the beginnings of hair. And then there's mice, rats, jumbo rats. So depending on the size of the animal, we adjust what size of food we give them. So obviously those guys would not be able to swallow the same size rat that Artemis can. Yeah, excellent question. Close, is that us? And let's check back in, see if anybody else is. Sophie's done. She's finished. Look how big. So there's Sal. You can see where lunch is hanging out. So that's pretty cool. So it'll run through that digestive system. It'll take about 24 hours or so, depending on the size of the meal. And yep, and they'll be good for about 2 weeks.
Stacy asks, how often do they eat?
We offer our snakes, we offer them food every other Saturday. Depending on the snake, most of them will eat every other weekend. Some of them, like Jeannie in particular, our ball python, she likes to skip meals, and in the winter sometimes she goes lots and lots of days without eating. So yeah, they are offered food every other week. Most of them take it, sometimes they don't. Excellent question.
And Susie says hi. So Susie's one of our longtime volunteers. So hi, Susie.
I miss you. He started over, it looks like. Or maybe he's waiting for more.
You got a big one this week.
Rusty's such a silly goose.
Shedding.
All right.
Shedding skin.
Oh yeah. One thing that is very different about snakes is their skin is not stretchy like ours. So our skin cells divide and stretch when we grow. Theirs do not. And so what they do when they grow is something called shedding. So here you can see this is a snake skin, either from Bo or from Rusty. This is really interesting. I like it because you can see the patterns of the snake. And you can see here's some belly skin, there's some back skin. So anyway, I digress. When a snake grows, their skin does not grow with them. And what happens is it gets really dry, and they peel it off, kind of scrape it off, and then they kind of almost roll it off like an old sock. And here, actually, you can see is the snake's head, and I just ripped it, but if you look very closely right there, that is what we call the eye cap, and that's actually a scale that covers the eyes of the snake. So earlier when we were talking about the legless lizard, I said that they had ear holes and eyelids, which is something that snakes never have. And the way that snakes can get away without having eyelids is by having that very thin, clear scale that covers their eye. And that's actually kind of handy for us humans, because when they are getting ready to shed, those outer scales sort of get cloudy and dusty, sort of bluish colored, and it's really easy to see that scale around their eye turn to that bluish cloudy. And so that's when we know, oh, this guy's getting ready to shed. If we were open to the public, we would say, you're on vacation for now, and we would just kind of let them do their thing.
So then Katie asked, any new sheds this week? Which
new shed this week, yes. I believe Sophie shed. So she is looking shiny and fantastic. Jeannie is working on shedding. Actually, let's look at Jeannie. So you can kind of see where she's kind of in the midst of it. And so this is what a shed looks like when it's not humid enough. So it's a little too dry. This is a desert or jungle species. And so she wants it more humid than it is, so we're going to raise her up a little bit. But you can see this sort of grayish, dusty color compared to this fresh stuff here. And so what she'll do is she'll just crawl around in her cage and kind of rub around and scrape this stuff off. And if the humidity was right, it would probably take an hour, maybe 2. But because she's a little drier than she wants to be, it'll take a little longer. But we'll just up the moisture and we'll make that go. So, and she probably wouldn't eat anyway because she doesn't like to eat when she's shedding. So, I miss Jeannie.
And then Sally, if you remember, was shedding during the last feeding, and that shed is off, and we actually have that one here. It came off in a pretty decent chunk here. So this is Sally's skin that he just lost a few days ago. Sam wants to know, does the snake's skin pattern change when it sheds?
Excellent question. Well, so the actual pattern, like the shapes of the marks, stay the same, but it'll go from kind of a dull color to a much brighter looking shade. Rusty in particular, when he sheds, he becomes, he's like iridescent. He looks like a rainbow snake. It's really pretty. But like the actual colors and shapes really don't change that much. That's a really good question.
Layla wants to know if we can take a look at the spiders. We can take a quick peek at the spiders here. So we have 2 spiders that live with us here. We have 2 tarantulas. And so they tend to like to hang out inside their little hides there, so it's hard to get a real good look at them. And they don't come out and visit. But you can see this is our Chaco golden knee tarantula in here, sitting inside its birch bark. You can see it's got a nice web all spun on the bottom there. So the way tarantulas make their webs is they kind of make a big carpet, and then they can feel when something's walking around on it, and then they come out and get it. So our tarantulas get crickets. And then next door we have our rose hair tarantula, who, so you probably can't really see in there, but she's in there. You can kind of just see a little light coming off of her tail end there. She's underneath the log there. She's in there. And see how
He's got it lined up in the right way.
Yeah, Rusty's back to working on his. He's got about halfway down already. So you can see you got it lined up head first, It's starting to bring it down. So this one we're looking at right now is Rusty. The spiders actually don't have names right now. That's something we should rectify.
Yeah, if you have a spider name idea, put it on our Facebook. Leave a comment.
Yeah, maybe we'll put that up as a contest on Facebook while we're here, is name the spiders.
Can you see it from the side? I always find it really enjoyable, intriguing, weird to watch them sort of walk their jaws up and over their prey.
So the question is, how do they breathe?
Ooh, that is a really good question. And I don't know about every single species, but specifically boas, these guys, they can actually eject their trachea. So trachea is the hard tube that we use to breathe that connects our throat to our lungs. So they can eject their breathing tube, basically, out of their mouth, and it kind of pops out like right next to their tongue. And so it's almost like they have a little snorkel sticking out while they're eating. Sometimes it's obvious, you can really see it. Sometimes it's kind of covered up by the prey item.
Yeah, you can usually get a pretty good look at it right when they're getting their last slurps in. So maybe we'll get a chance to see it here as he's finishing off. You can see it moving a little bit down there on the bottom left, right by the foot there. There it is.
Snakes are so cool.
There it is. So just open it up on the left side of the mouth there.
So you can see that this is a fairly time-consuming process, and this is like they're focused solely on swallowing right now. So you can imagine for a wild snake, eating is a big deal. It's very dangerous. Once a snake starts eating, it is totally open for attack. If it needs to do some kind of crazy escape maneuver, probably what's going to happen is it's going to have to regurgitate its food to try to get away. So Artemis has pulled her food underneath her body. Should I open this? And you can't really see her head, but the mouse, the rat, is right about there.
You see a little tail poking out there.
And then her head is kind of right behind her body back there. And so...
yeah, you can see the tail right here. Just poking out from underneath.
A little nosy.
Kind of a shadow for you guys.
She's probably got a lot of maneuvering to do before she swallows that, based on out sitting right
We're seeing the tail and the nose. She's probably got it bit in the middle, but she's not going to swallow it that way.
All right. Well, what else? Anything else?
So we have one spider name suggestion already. Parker, in honor of Spider-Man.
That's a really good one. Good idea. I like that.
Erica wants to know if we can go upstairs.
Okay. We can go wherever.
We can do a quick visit upstairs, I suppose.
Go to, like, birds or the rock collection or all of it?
Why don't we take a quick visit with the birds? Everybody closed? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, since we're walking, we can just chat, I suppose. Obviously, thank you to everyone for your support, not just now, but all the time. We are grateful for that. We're going to continue to do what we do. We're going to continue to bring you science you can touch and all that fun stuff. We're just going to have to figure out a new way to do it. So, thank you for the support. Keep supporting us. If you have the means and the ability, feel free to leave a donation. We can always use donations, especially now. We are missing out on field trip season, which is my favorite season, this place turns into like a cross between a circus and a madhouse. So yeah, we're not going to get to do that yet this year. So we're going to do this instead. So this first fella here, this is Oswald. Oswald's a great horned owl, and he's what we call an imprint. So even though he's physically healthy, he doesn't know how to act like an owl. He has kind of a mental injury. And so even though he's healthy, he will spend his life here at the Science Center. And he's being a little shy.
Just had his 20th birthday.
What's that?
And Oswald just had his 20th birthday, like, a few weeks ago.
So, O'Reilly's being shy. He's way in the back. He's a red-tailed hawk. He was injured at a young age, and he ran into a power line and electrocuted his wing. And on his way to the animal hospital, he actually detached his own wing. He ripped it off. And so he really can't fly. And that's why he lives here, because he can't catch his food, he can't hunt, he can't get away from predators, and so he is dependent upon us.
So you can see a little bit of food there, too. What is O'Reilly eating?
Today he got a quail breast. So for the most part, the bulk of the food we feed them is farm-raised quail. It's just nutritionally really all-encompassing, and it's relatively cheap and easy to get. We will also give them gophers, squirrels, small rodents. We're really lucky to have some very mindful farmers who catch, trap, and kill nuisance rodents like gophers without poisons or anything like that. And so they bring those to us, and so we can give that to these guys for a little bit of, you know, something to change up the menu a little. So yeah, a mix of, everybody gets quail, gopher, squirrels, sometimes mice, and it's just to kind of make it slightly less boring for those guys. And next we have the Merlin, and she's actually up where you can see her. A lot of times she hides where she knows the sight line is not. And so she was hit by a car, and she has both of her wings, but let's see, it will be her left wing. The joint that we would probably think of like her shoulder was broken, and the way it healed, she just doesn't have any range of motion, so she can't lift that left wing almost hardly at all, and so she can't fly, which again means can't hunt, can't get away from predators and all that stuff. And that's why she lives here. So it's springtime, which means when the weather is nice, we'll take them outside, get some fresh air. Because of the social distancing and all that fun stuff, we used to take them to Library Park right on the lakefront, but we just don't want to risk any impromptu crowds, so now we take them to a secret undisclosed location, which we'll stream when we do take them out. The weather hasn't been great. I'm a big baby. I don't want to sit outside in the rainy, gross nest with birds. So when it gets sunny and nice, we'll be getting fresh air with the raptors, and we'll make sure to stream that if you guys are interested.
All right. So, if there's any last-minute questions here, we'll make sure to answer them. But otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in, and I think we'll wrap it up.
Is that a question or something else? Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Hello.